It's really, people have noticed the mental clarity and loss of brain fog, enhanced sports performance. I mean, people do remarkably better wearing the patches, substantially, and that's been documented. Faster recovery from exercise. As someone with fibromyalgia, and I think your family member would note this, it's really hard to work out because you just don't recover. Those muscle fibers don't repair very quickly, and you are down hard for several days, and it makes you just not want to do it.
Welcome to the Radical Health Rebel podcast. I'm your host, Lee Brandon. This work started for me several decades ago when I started to see the impact I could make on people, helping them to identify the root cause of their health problems that no doctor could figure out, including serious back, knee, shoulder and neck injuries, acne and eczema issues, severe gut health problems, even helping couples get pregnant after several IVF treatments had failed. And it really moves me to be able to help people in this way. And that is why I do what I do and why we have this show. In this week's episode of the Radical Health Rebel podcast, entitled Photomodulation for Pain Reduction, I spoke with Darlene Greene about photobiomodulation technology and how it can be used to help reduce pain and repair damaged tissues in the body, as well as other health benefits. As you may know, I'm not one for gadgets when it comes to health. However, I was intrigued to find out more when Darlene reached out to me to come on the show to discuss this too good to be true sounding technology. As you will hear, Darlene and her family have experienced miraculous results with the help of this technology, and Darlene shares story after story of others who have benefited from the stem cells activating technology. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this episode. Darlene Greene, welcome to the Radical Health Rebel podcast. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Lee. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's great to be speaking to you again, Darlene. So to kick things off, could you share with the audience your history, your extensive background, and how and why you switched to becoming involved in photobiomodulation technology? Sure,
I'd be happy to. Well, so I did 20 years in the United States Navy, and somewhere along the way, I was diagnosed with Epstein-Barr virus. I've heard you talk about it on your show, or chronic fatigue syndrome. And then just a few years later, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I know you have a relative that I know very familiar with that, both of which there are no cures for, right? So you immediately start looking for alternative therapies because there's nothing Western medicine offers really that will help you. And you got to clean up your act, right? You got to do a lot of things right immediately, and none of those are pharmaceuticals. So started really digging into that. Then was diagnosed with POTS in 2005, postural orthostatic tachycardia, where I would stand up or get overheated and just pass out and black out and hit my head on the tub, the wall. It was bad, and they put me on a medicine called fludrocortisone that was to increase my blood pressure. And I asked, is there any alternative to this? Well, you can take in a lot of salt. So I was doing that until it wasn't working enough. And so I had these various autoimmune disorders, rosacea, other things, but it wasn't really, so I guess I point that out to say I have been researching and looking into alternative holistic medicine for decades. However, it was really just a few years ago when my husband was diagnosed with early Alzheimer's that the whole world shifted. The rug gets pulled out from under yourself, and you have to start trying new things. The only options that Barrow's Neurological Center or Banner Alzheimer's Clinic had were drugs that were new on the market and that caused brain bleeds in 50% of people with my husband's APOE4 type. So we were not going to do that. And so we tried, I did a lot of research. I tried all the things. I mean, you've talked about a lot of them on your podcasts, gene mapping, microbiome testing, really revamping the gut, right? Making sure we are not doing any sugar, white flour, no alcohol, no soda, only the highest quality fats, avocado, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, really only organic, no genetic modifications, no gluten, right? Not all of these things we did. And infrared sauna, you've talked about red light therapy, you've talked about hyperbaric chamber, ozone therapy, hydrogen water, daily strength training, high intensity training, a sleep protocol with red lights, getting our eyes on the morning sun, getting our eyes on the evening. I mean, you name it, we were trying it. Dr. Bredeson's protocol, which is really great, and I admire him a lot, but nothing was helping. And his decline was dramatic. So then, everything was pointing to stem cells. So I was like, okay, let's go out of country. We'll go get placenta stem cells because this may be the holy grail and the last ditch effort. So we did that 4 times. It was $10,000 an IV with injections and IVs. And he did it. And I went ahead and did it too, because I just really wanted to stop passing out. I could sort of handle everything else, but the passing out was so, unpredictable. It was preventing me. I know you love tennis. I love pickleball. So I was having trouble playing pickleball. I live in Arizona, right, in the United States, and it's hot in the summer. And so I was just not able to do it. So I was really trying to get that to go away. Well, he did not improve, and I did not improve, in spite of 4 different sessions and a lot of money spent. So we were at a place in time when I tell you he declined quickly. Let me put this in perspective for you. The stages from mild cognitive impairment to stage 6A, where he is now, which is cognitive age 5, unable to dress himself, that usually takes 11 to 13 years. And my husband did it in 2. So that's partly because of the APOE4/4 and partly because of it early. Early is more aggressive. So at the point in time when I was introduced to this new stem cell activation technology, he was napping the day away, at least 3.5 hours a day. He would then fall asleep at 7 at night. He was completely disengaged from conversation. It was just too hard for him. He was asking the same questions like 7 times in 3 minutes. That's hard. That's hard as a care provider to stay pleasant and like it's the first time you've heard it. He was no longer even his personality. So he wasn't even trying to be funny anymore. And so we had a friend reach out and said, Darlene, I know you've done stem cells. I know you know about the power of stem cells, but what we're doing with our family is a technology that activates your own stem cells. It's completely safe. And I'm like, I'm in. Like, you don't have to say more. I'm in. And I had not read any of the 90 clinical studies, many of which are double-blind, placebo-controlled. I had not read the patent. I've since done a lot of that but I was also very skeptical. I mean, if I was going to get results on stem cells, I figured it would be the very expensive placenta stem cells that I was getting, right? But in the very first week of using this stem cell activation technology, my husband just woke up. His brain woke up. He was alert. He didn't nap at all. He was engaged. He was talkative. He was replying quickly and appropriately. He was not asking me the same questions over and over again. And I loved that. But most importantly for me was that he was back to his funny and flirty personality again. I got my husband back. He was no longer a zombie. And in the second week, he recorded the best deep sleep by a lot. Like even in spite of all the efforts we've made, he was only getting 15 minutes of deep sleep, which is critical to the brain. That's when it washes and cleanses and gets the toxins out, right? So I was really working hard on that and so frustrated. So really happy when in the second week, he recorded an hour and 25 minutes of deep sleep. In the next little time frame, 2.5 months, he regained some skills, including the ability to whistle, the ability to drum. His blood pressure dropped 37 points. At the 5-month point, he regained his sense of smell. He had lost his sense of smell 15 years ago. And a lot of people have lost their sense of smell due to COVID recently. But if it's not related to COVID and it just goes away, it could be a sign of early Alzheimer's. It's one of the very first indicators. His bald spot started to close up and his hair came in brown instead of gray and silver. So it was just really all of these things that were amazing. And those things have sustained in the past year that we have been using the technology. For me, I will tell you, I was in a bit of a hurt locker. Not only did I have all those autoimmune disorders that I had been working on my whole life to try to get rid of, but I had missed the last 3 steps of our house and I had broken my foot and I had sprained my ankle, completely popped a ligament, and the other one, 90%, had to have surgery. And I had been sort of chair bound for about 5 months. And I was in a lot of pain every single day. And nothing, I don't like medicines anyway. I don't like the Percocets and Vicodins or any of that ever anyway. I don't even respond very well to them, but I certainly didn't want to do that either. But I came sort of head to head with the situation at hand. I don't know that I realized how bad off my husband was until I had to ask him, can you bring me a glass of ice water? And he just looks at me with the deer in the headlights look of, I don't know how to do that for you. I don't know what you're talking about. And I'll try. Can you walk me through it? And so it was a time of deep depression for me. I wanted to cry every single day. And when I started patching, first of all, I was able to use a particular one of our line of products to get out of pain in 15 seconds. It was so dramatically that I didn't even believe it myself. I thought, this is just the day that my pain goes away in 5 months. It's 5 months. I mean, it's probably time anyway. But then I took the technology off and the pain came back. So I was just shocked. And then I noticed, so there's, one product is helpful to activate stem cells, another to reduce inflammation. Another helps, you'll appreciate this, elevate the epithelium peptide, really good for the skin. So over time, what I found was, one, I didn't pass out at all. I haven't used the fluorocortisone in a year. I stopped having regular headaches. I no longer have body aches of the fibromyalgia. I'm not getting sick, knock on wood, with the chronic fatigue syndrome. And I used to get sick and I'd be sick a long time. I would be sick, if that one person was sick a week, I'd be sick 4 weeks. It was just longer and harder than anybody else. My rosacea cleared up after, I think it took about 3 months, but that finally cleared up. And it used to be anything I put on my skin would just burn my face. I could not find a lotion that was, agreeable. It was, and even high end, everything just burned. And so I was just so happy when that just kind of went away and my skin got really soft. Even my elbows got really soft. I've had, dry skin where I would travel with like Cetaphil cream, just to lather up everywhere I went, the big tubs of it, not the lotion. Lotion wasn't enough. I had to have the deep cream. And I don't really have to do that. I don't even think about it anymore. I don't feel dry and scaly anymore. So I dropped weight. My hormones, balanced and I lost 10 pounds just sort of effortlessly. I was no longer stress eating. My whole system calmed down and I was absolutely stunned by the results of this technology for us. So immediately I began talking to my family, right? Your loved ones you go to first, mom, dad, sister, you need to try this. And they had, my sister had chronic microscopic colitis. The gut is so problematic for so many things. And I know you spent a lot of time talking about not just the gut skin axis, but we also know the gut brain axis, right? It is that for every signal that goes for the brain to the gut, you have 7 signals that go from the gut to the brain. So it was really fun to watch her after 6 years of trying to get this microscopic colitis. And she tried stem cells and she tried steroids and she tried antibiotics. She did everything that the doctors, 6 different doctors said, and she couldn't get rid of it. And it was really problematic for her. It changed her lifestyle. Like she couldn't do certain things because she did not have control over that. So she found that in just 3 weeks' time, using the anti-inflammation product and the stem cell activation product, her chronic microscopic colitis went away. And so did her dogs. So, I mean, because you can remove the technology and apply it to pets. So anyway, I became very passionate about all of this. Cousins that had fibromyalgia no longer having to take anything for it. Another relative who was suicidal, who was lifted out of their depression. Looking at videos of testimonials of people with PTSD. You kind of name it. There are all sorts of symptoms, and people are experiencing miraculous results. So that's how I got into the business of being a stem cell technology consultant, because I can't help but share it when it has these kinds of miraculous results, and it's so safe, right? So we can talk a little bit more about that, but I want to pause to make sure I've answered your question.
Yeah, you've certainly answered my question. I guess the one thing perhaps would be good for you to explain right now before we continue any further is, what are stem cells and what does stem cells actually do in the body?
Oh, that's such a great question.
42-year-old Chris came to see me whilst training for his first marathon. Initially, Chris wanted manual therapy on his calf muscles, which were taking a pounding from his long runs. I did recommend to Chris several times that he really needed a full exercise, nutrition and lifestyle program so he could complete the marathon in the quickest time and to minimize his likelihood of injury. However, 6 weeks from his first race, Chris suffered a debilitating back injury that meant he was unable to walk and was devastated that all his hard work had gone down the drain. Chris hobbled into my treatment room the next day to see if we could salvage the situation. I suggested to Chris that he do what I recommended all along, and if he did, he'd probably have a 50% chance of completing the marathon. So I've gave Chris a full physical assessment and then devised a comprehensive exercise, nutrition and lifestyle program. And full credit to Chris, he gave it 100%, totally dedicating himself to the program. Days before the race, Chris came to see me for a final tune-up and to ask whether I thought he was ready for the race. I suggested he start the race, but to stop if he felt any back pain, as there will always be other races. I received a text message from Chris the afternoon of the race to say that he completed it in 3 hours 42 minutes and he had no pain and had little to no muscle soreness. Chris has since gone on to run multiple marathons in impressive times. So if you're suffering from back pain that's preventing you from doing something that you love, why not arrange a consultation with me at www.bodycheck.co.uk so I can show you what's causing the problem and how you can get back to performing at your best. Now, back to the podcast.
So, it's funny. Everyone really always wants to look and feel, perform, and live younger, but stem cells really are the key to that. They're not only a vital part of our immune system, but they repair and they rejuvenate, they regenerate damaged cells. They are your body's raw materials. They are what made you when you were born. So they do things that we don't think about, like reduce inflammation and trigger the death of old cells. But they self-replicate, but they can become and differentiate into multiple different tissues. So they can become bone or cartilage or fat or ligament. They can be brain or liver or kidney or lung or anything your body needs. And they know when you're activating your own, they know where to go and what to do. So they go where it's needed the most. Well, when you're 30, half of your stem cells are dormant. And when you are 60, they are almost all dormant. So I'm 59 and almost all of my stem cells were dormant. They're not anymore. I think you're mid-50s, if I recall correctly. And so your stem cells are not working for you. So they're in there floating around, just not active, kind of sleeping on the job. And so the fewer that we have that are active and working for us, the faster we age and the slower we heal. And so when we can get those activated, they go to work and they go wherever they're needed the most. And I would love to say, I need you all stem cells. I need you all to go hit my husband's Alzheimer's, right? That's where I need you. But they may go in there and say, hey, Darlene, your husband was a naval aviator for 30 years. We're starting with his liver. I don't know. They go where they want to go. And so one of the things I love is that we have supplementary products that can help direct, all right, I need to be activating the stem cells in the muscle, in the brain, in the heart, in those areas, and we can target those areas. So that's a little bit about stem cells.
Great. Yeah, you've answered that question very well. And can you describe what the technology is that you use, and actually so that the viewers actually understand how it works?
Yeah, I will. I'll do my best. This is really kind of breakthrough technology. We have a brilliant scientist and researcher, sort of a genius inventor. He has over 150 patents focused on anti-aging and regenerative science, and actually we'll have 180 by the end of this year, as I understand it. Really, he's been leading the phototherapy industry for research and science for about 20 years, I think. There are over 90 clinical studies proving the efficacy of this technology. And what I love about it, it's safe because it's light therapy, right? You had a guest talking about red light therapy. You can't overdose on light. There are no contraindications, no drug interactions. It is inexpensive. There's no prescription required. And it's available in 87 countries. So it's not a new thing. The company's been around 20 years. It's a non-transdermal patch. It looks like this. It's the size of a quarter. It has organic materials and nanocrystals. And when applied on the body or even in my pocket, even near the body, it activates, it's activated by body heat and light. And what it's doing is not unlike, you've talked a lot about vitamin D on your podcast. When you go out in the sun, your body makes vitamin D. Well, that's photobiomodulation. That's light therapy. And similarly, it makes melanin with a different light wave, right? So you have light inside of you, Lee. If I were to look at you with night vision goggles, you see light and heat inside of you. And so what this is doing is it's reflecting your own light back like a little mirror at very specific wavelengths to stimulate targeted beneficial biochemical responses. And nothing is entering the body, nothing except that light being reflected. So it's being used by elite practitioners, only, the open-minded ones. So a lot of holistic, integrative, and functional medicine doctors. But we actually have a world-renowned plastic surgeon. He's actually been featured on the Doctor's Show, on the Dr. Oz Show, Dr. Adam Shiner. And he has his patients use the stem cell activation patch 3 months prior and 6 months after surgery for healing. And it's healing the skin and the wounds from the plastic surgery. He does face stuff. It's healing it at least 40% faster. There are cardiologists that are experiencing amazing things. There's a Dr. John Harmon who's written this book called How to Reverse Aging, a comprehensive guide to copper peptides. And he had a right branch bundle blockage. Nothing you can do about that. No medicine, no surgery. And in 14 months on the stem cell activation and the anti-inflammation patches, it went away. It was no longer there. His cardiologist couldn't believe it. We have anesthesiologists or, chiropractors, psychiatrists, osteopaths, dentists, you kind of name it. And there's one anesthesiologist, I love what he says. And I think you appreciate this quote, your health is your greatest wealth. And his name is Dr. Joseph Peck. He's an anesthesiologist, 40-year physician. And he says that this is the most significant medical breakthrough in my lifetime and one of the most amazing products in medicine. And I know you do a lot with very elite athletes and helping them with pain management and other, even just performance. And I'll tell you that in the 2008 Olympics, we had over 300 Olympic athletes wearing our patches. And you can look at pictures of them, Serena Williams, David Beckham, Michael Phelps, for the enhanced performance and the rapid recovery. And more recently, I learned that Ivory Sully was talking in a podcast in September that Tom Brady is wearing these patches. And then recently we learned that the Kansas City Chiefs that just won the Super Bowl here are wearing the patches. So many have called this the holy grail of anti-aging and restorative science. And the way it's working, it's not just that it's reflecting light. What it does when it reflects that light is it's proven to activate a copper peptide called GHKCU, which you may be familiar with because GHKCU is often used in creams for the face. It's a really well-known skin product. It's actually often been injected before, although there's a woman that says she did 4 injections a day and did not get the same elevation of one patch. So there's been 50 years of research and double-blind placebo-controlled studies of amazing benefits of GHKCU. And you can actually just Google GHKCU in PubMed and see the benefits. And some of those benefits of GHKCU are it increases stem cells. It produces growth factors. It's super for the brain and nerves. And I'll dive into that a little bit more since I really am focused a lot on the brain. Heart, though, it reduced fibrinogen synthesis. That's a top predictor of cardiovascular disease, and increased myostatin, which protects against heart failure. Really protects the lungs. Very good at increasing healing and improving tissue repair. It's a tremendous anti-cancer. So not only does it reset the programmed cell death of human cancer cells like human neuroblastoma and leukemia and breast cancer, but it doesn't affect healthy cells. So it repairs DNA, damaged DNA, and reset 84 genes to protect against cancer. And I know you're big into epigenetics and you've talked a lot about that in some of your podcasts, and I love that. And that's what this is doing, really resetting them to their healthier natural state. In fact, in the first 24 hours of wearing that stem cell activation patch, it resets 4,000 genes to their healthier, younger state. GHKCU also is a great antioxidant and anti-inflammatory and super for the skin and hair. So we talked a little bit about skin, and even the effects on my skin, but I didn't talk about hair. Like I have all of this hair growth. My husband has all of this hair growth. It's still unruly because it's all these baby hairs, but I'll take it. The benefits of GHK on the brain are well studied as well. And it improves memory. It promotes nerve growth. It provides optimal cellular environment for neural development. It leads to faster and more profound nerve regeneration. That's huge for my husband. It upregulates 408 genes and downregulates 230, promotes the growth of new blood vessels. It removes free radicals, which is a huge thing to do for brain health. It's crossing the brain-blood barrier to provide unique benefits to brain tissue. It has neuroprotective properties. It stimulates nerve growth factors, which is a critical protein that helps to play a key role in developing neurons. So that's the GHK part. So let's talk about the patch for a second. There was a brain study done with the stem cell activation patch in 2019. And the stem cell activation patch has been around 4 years. The other patches, many of them, like the first patch came out 20 years ago. So this particular study showed they did blood work, they did intake exams, and they did EEGs. And on my website, you can actually see the pictures of the EEGs. The first session is before you actually started applying the stem cell activation patch. And it was showing, in some cases, red. And that red was inflammation and a hypercoherence, which is a poor communicating brain between left and right hemispheres. It was PTSD, ADHD, anger, right? And not good memory, not a very well-functioning brain. And in session 2, just 3 weeks later, you can already see the color mapping changing. You can see the yellows and the greens coming in. And by session 3, which was in 6 weeks, you see a whole new color map. And what the study proved, this was a double-blind placebo-controlled study, was yes, it actually did increase GHKCU. That's great. We expected that. That's what the patent says, so not surprising there. But for the brain, they found that it supported cell and nerve regeneration. It improved the nervous system. It lowered anxiety. It decreased brain inflammation, and it improved memory, focus, and cognition. And I don't know if I mentioned, it was just 2 or 3 weeks on the patches when my depression completely lifted. I just felt like a different person. I was able to live in a space of gratitude and feel grateful for the days that I do have and the time I have and the love that we have had in a way that, we've had the best marriage of anyone I've known ever. And that is saying something. Not everyone ever gets that. And so I was just able to sort of shift my focus and just kind of have that wanting to cry every day dissipate. And I don't even know when it happened, like week 2, 3, I'm not even sure because it just sort of went away and you don't necessarily notice. So I got to watch the study in effect on me, as well as on my husband. And I think that the reason that I didn't have to take my fluticasone anymore around my postural orthostatic tachycardia was kind of talked about or demonstrated in a study that they did at the Center for Biofield Sciences, on the vascular system. And in this 6-week study, they showed, participants saw an amazing improvement in their vascular system. And vascular is head to toe, right? It's skin to internal organs. It's everywhere. And in 6 weeks, they noticed that the cardiovascular system started functioning as if it were 8 weeks younger. So I just think that my whole cardiovascular system got revamped and made into a whole new system. So I don't need that medicine anymore. I'm not passing out anymore. I can do squats now. There were certain Pilates moves my Pilates instructor she couldn't do. I would immediately let go. And once you start passing out, there's no recovery. I'm actually able to do squats and not have any issues at this point. It's just really, a whole new world for me because this has been a problem for me. I think the first time I passed out was right after college. So I don't think I got diagnosed till 2005. I think I'd had it for like 20 years, but this is really life-changing for me. And it's really a game changer for a lot of people. When you look at what 80% of people are experiencing some positive results in 3 to 6 weeks, this is not going to happen overnight. The pain relief patch that's 15 seconds, but the stem cell activation and anti-inflammation, this is cellular repair supported, right? So that doesn't happen overnight. Just like you talked about taking a couple of years to help with your back. Similarly, there's a picture on my website of 4 bulging discs that you can see. And you can see that I think it took 14 months. And you can see that the 4 bulging discs are gone. And, doctors are like, that's a miracle. That's not possible. Well, anything is possible with stem cells because they made you. So most people, some of the things that they would experience would be like rapid pain relief or reduced inflammation, the supported wound healing, energy and vitality. I love the energy. There's even an energy enhancer patch, which is just life changing. It's working at the mitochondrial level to actually improve your fat burning at the mitochondrial level. And I was researching, how do I improve Jim's mitochondrial function? Because really, when you think about it, the root of so much of our dysfunction starts at a mitochondrial cell level. So I was working on that. So I love that I have this ability to have sustained energy, not like a energy drink, which I've never had, but not like an espresso, not like anything like that. There's no, your veins aren't on fire with caffeine. It's just this sustained energizer bunny energy all day long. And it's good for your whole system. It's actually good for you to have energy flowing through your body because pain is actually sort of stuck energy. So, it's really, people have noticed the mental clarity and loss of brain fog, enhanced sports performance. I mean, people do remarkably better wearing the patches, substantially, and that's been documented. Faster recovery from exercise. As someone with fibromyalgia, and I think your family member would note this, it's really hard to work out because you just don't recover. Those muscle fibers don't repair very quickly, and you are down hard for several days, and it makes you just not want to do it. And so I found, now I'm recovering quickly enough so I can lift weights 6 days a week now and add the aerobics on top of that, the high intensity interval training. And so I just love that it's like remove these barriers for me to the things I wanted to do, but just weren't able to do. And I think it's kind of like a self-licking ice cream cone, right? because I get deeper sleep, because I wake up with more energy. I'm wanting to work out because it's not hurting so much and I'm stronger. I'm repairing faster. All of these things I wanted to, because I'm drinking more water, because that's the one requirement on the patches. There's no other requirement, but you have to drink half your body weight in ounces in water because it's going to start detoxing you. And I know you spend a lot of time talking about detoxification. And one of the things you probably may be familiar with glutathione. Glutathione is your body's mastery antioxidant, great for immune system, something that I was taking orally or getting an IV before I discovered the patches. And I will tell you that I really think all of the things that I was doing is what helped me to get through the pandemic unscathed, which is really a miracle. You can only know how fearful I was going in knowing I had 4 autoimmune disorders and I usually get sick so much harder than everyone else. So I was really doing all of these things to boost my immune system, including the glutathione. Well, that glutathione IV has a half-life of 7 minutes. And, oral glutathione that I was taking, it raises your glutathione like 27%, I think. And again, half-life really short. So, our stem cell activation patch by itself elevates your glutathione 30%. And the people that live the longest in the world have the highest levels of glutathione. So immediately, one of the things and the benefits of that is that it's going to start detoxing, dumping toxins from your lymph nodes and your fat cells. And you need that water to get that flushed out. So, it also improves skin appearance. And one of the ways it does that is by increasing collagen. And collagen, as you know, is the most abundant protein in your body. It's in every single cell. So we see people and they look younger and we think, oh, this is great, but it's not just vanity, right? Every cell in your body uses that collagen and needs that collagen. So when your face has more collagen and looks younger, that's actually an outward reflection of inner health. So it's just kind of something to be considering. And when you have the kind of results that you can have from detoxing, you wonder, a hormone balancing, you wonder which thing is making the difference. Maybe it's all of it, right? We know hormones can affect the skin. We know that toxins can affect all of it, right? The gut health. I've had amazing stories of friends who've had leaky gut and horrible migraines and just horrible health. And just in a few weeks on the stem cell activation and anti-inflammation patch, they responded beautifully. And all of a sudden they weren't, bowled over in pain after eating things. And they were not having, 27 migraines in a month anymore. It was like 2 in the first month on. So really, remarkable results very quickly for almost anything. I mean, that's what I love about it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if as you said, stem cells could go anywhere, it makes sense that if you've got more stem cells, that it could improve anything, right? If they're going to go where they're needed, so to speak, then there's not many things that it couldn't improve.
That's right. And the one area that I really appreciate, particularly for me, but also for my mom and dad, is the ability to build muscle. A lot of people are often looking to lose weight. And at our age, quite honestly, that's the wrong thing to be focused on. What you need to be focused on is gaining muscle and losing body fat. But so many of the approaches, God, the Ozempics and the semaglutides, I mean, they just immediately take out water and muscle. They strip your body of all the effort. I mean, it's hard to get muscle, right? It's not an easy thing. And so when you just immediately have it wash away, you're setting yourself up for instability as an elder person. And so my mom and dad are in their 80s, and my mom was holding on for dear life every place she walked, very unstable, had some foot pain. I really, had done a really big fall, had broken her fibula, which caused her to be in a hospital, which caused her to be in a, kind of a support care facility, which caused her to get COVID, which, started to decline with memory. I mean, it was just this, all because really, I think 2 things. She wasn't strong And she had a gut issue that was causing her some issues at the time. And so really important to note that we have protocols, or not protocols, because that sounds too medical and I have to stay away from medical terminology, because we're in the category of Band-Aids. We're a wellness product. There's no medicine. So FDA compliant, but not something that, big pharma is going to hopefully even look at, because it's light therapy, right? I mean, light therapy has been around 5,000 years. So it's a very proven, and acupressure and acupuncture medicine has proven to be effective. And we typically are wearing the pouches along the acupressure and acupuncture points. But just as a, we talked about the pain, and a lot of people are in pain. And pain is so debilitating, both for your mental health and your physical health. And I love that one of the things that this patch does is it helps you with both. But when you are in a lot of pain, it's real hard to be happy in your best self, right? There was a study done on our pain relief patches, and 100% of subjects experienced pain relief an hour after application. Most of them, like 94%, experienced it in the first 15 minutes. 77.5 experienced greater than 4 levels of pain reduction after day 5. And really that brought people to almost no level of pain. And the pain reductions that occurred in the first 3 to 4 weeks were actually maintained through the 12-week period, even when the subjects stopped using the technology in the final 4 weeks. And why is that? Well, there's this, pain is inflammation and pain is blocked energy. And so when you can get that energy flowing and clear the pathways and cool the body, and there's thermal imagery studies where you can actually see the red drop in just 5 minutes of someone's back. It just cools the whole body down about 1 degree Celsius. So it really is a phenomenal product. And I also have to tell you, we've been talking a little bit about gut health being so important, and the brain gut connection and the skin gut connection. But I am a self-proclaimed I understand. I got it through the family. My dad's got a sweet tooth. I grew up with my mom making, honest to Pete, the best desserts on the planet. She could have gone into business and made bazillions. Her lemon meringue, chocolate meringue pies, everything she made was just the best in the world. It spoiled me for life. But I grew up where we had dessert, and so I was like a little sugar addict, a little salt addict. And I've had to honestly sort of white knuckle my way through not eating sugar, not eating bad carbs, really. That was really hard. But one of the best things, we have a patch that is really good at balancing the endocrine system and helps fight addictions and cravings. So when I wear this patch, one, intermittent fasting is a piece of cake. So I love that, because I can eat in the window and give my gut a chance to rest. And two, I'm just not thinking about sugar or salt or junk food. I'm not stressing. I'm not standing in front of the refrigerator, not hungry, but just wanting comfort food. And when you're a care provider of a husband that's cognitive age 5 and needs your help in every single moment of every day, from whether that's feeding or drinking or whatever, that it's an easy place to turn. I'm glad I don't drink alcohol, because I probably would be an alcoholic by now, because it would be an easy source of comfort, right? But this just removes my desire for that. And that's the first time since high school that I remember not having cravings, not having to white knuckle my way through a day. So I can eat healthier. And again, that self-licking ice, right? I'm getting better and better because I'm eating healthier. I'm drinking healthier. I'm working out. I'm detoxing. My husband's, I told you, his blood pressure dropped, but our A1C is great, as well. So all the things that you want, your organ health improving, all of these things, can be improved by light therapy. And I will tell you, Lee, I was the biggest skeptic out there. And I had a friend that started about the same time I did. She has Parkinson's. She has tremors since she was 5 years old. She could not hold a glass of water without it spilling and knocking all over the place. And at 3 weeks, we met for lunch. She wasn't tremoring. And we're like, Susan, what is going on? And she's like, I know. I know. And she was as big a skeptic. She's like, are you kidding me? This little sticker is going to make a difference in my health. And I'm like, I know. What do we have to lose? There's a money back guarantee. We can give it a try. We'll see. And then she was like, okay, I'm all in. I want every single patch that they make. And I'm going to talk to 4 of my friends that I know have issues as well. So it just kind of explodes a little bit. And I have never enjoyed anything more than I have getting people out of pain. I had somebody come over, they'd had a brain surgery, a neck fusion. They were crying all day. They'd been in tremendous pain. And this was not a recent surgery. This was years ago, right? So they were just in chronic pain all the time. And I have a doctor friend who is, we do a webinar every week where we talk to people about patching and where and how and which ones and that kind of thing. And she had called me and she said, hey, I have a gal, she's ordered, but she hasn't received yet. And I need to get her patched right now. She's in great pain. Can you please take care of her? And I said, send her to my house. I'll take care of her. So she comes over and her pain is an 8 after medicine, after pharmaceutical drugs, right? After big guns. And so we put this pain relief patch on her. The first, you got to find the right place. Not all of them you have to find the right place, but the pain relief one you really do, because you're kind of trying to block a pain signal. So getting the right place really makes a difference. So we tried the first place and it dropped to about 4 from 8. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's great. I go, no. We want way better than that. We're looking for 1. So we did another place. It was still about a 3. We put it in a third location, and I think the third location was like the back of the neck and the front of the neck, actually. And bam, she's like, it's at a 1. I don't want you to move it. She's like getting teary. She's like, I can't even believe what a difference. That's just amazing. And she was just so grateful. And for me, I get such joy of being able to help people get out of pain. And I get texts every day from people telling me how much better they feel and thank you so much. So in this journey that I'm in with my husband, and I don't know where we'll go and what will happen, I do have more hope in that I know that we have had some neuro improvements. But in this journey, this has really been the silver lining for me, where I've been able to uncover something that can really help everyone. Except maybe people that have a organ transplant. They need to be really careful because your body's going to boost your immune system, and they're usually on immunosuppressant drugs. Anybody else, pacemaker, chemotherapy, you name it, it can work with any modality, and we just don't recommend anybody change their drugs or anything that they're doing. Although we have had people who immediately stop their morphine or other things because the pain relief patches work so well and they don't want to be taking those drugs. But I will tell you that one thing you do need to do is to check in and get your labs done regularly, because we find people's cholesterol drops and they don't need to be on cholesterol medicine. People's blood pressure drops and they don't need to be on blood. And honestly, I've had 3 doctors tell me, 3 naturopathic doctors or integrative medicine or holistic kind of doctors say they believe the Alzheimer's epidemic is as a result of the statins. That's what's causing the Alzheimer. And I can't say here or there, and I haven't looked into the studies. I can tell you my husband was on a statin, or Dr. Bredesen would tell you, and I know you did a podcast on mold. Dr. Bredesen, who has actually had success in reversing Alzheimer's, one of the only people in the world that has, and we follow his protocol. He would tell you 80% of people with Alzheimer's have 2 foundational pillar issues. One is mold, and the other is insulin resistance. And so then there's other things. He'll tell you there's 36 holes in the roof and there's a lot, you have to patch all of them. Epstein-Barr virus can be one of them. Hormones can be another, gut health, leaky gut, all of that can be one. So you're kind of having to, and that's why we are doing all the things that we're doing. But yeah, it really is phenomenal.
Yeah. Just going back to you talking about pain, reducing pain, the studies that were done on pain, I'm guessing they were on people in chronic pain, right? No, rather than acute pain.
That's correct. That's correct. They were chronic pain. Although I have certainly used the patches on people that have acute pain that just, in fact, it's actually interesting. People with acute pain can find that the stem cell activation patch alone can help. And especially the stem cell activation and the anti-inflammation patch. Like if I tweak my shoulder, often those two patches alone, without using the pain relief patches, can help pretty quickly. If you have a chronic issue, or even just the stem cell activation patch, when you've had chronic, you've got to get rid of that inflammation, right? The inflammation is going to be such a part of the problem. And sometimes scar tissue can be a part of the problem. And there are other things that can really cause you to, you're going to need to take some time with some of the repair patching as opposed to the pain relief, which is really more like, I'm not going to say it's more like a Band-Aid fix, but it's more like it's only when you're wearing it typically that you're experiencing that pain relief. So when I took the pain relief patches off, 15 minutes later, my ankle was throbbing again. And I'm like, okay, this is really the patches that are doing this in spite of my skepticism. So it can be either, but the study, because they needed to make sure that this was somebody who had been in pain a long time and it wasn't just going to go away overnight.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, because obviously one of the things that I talk about a lot is that, in essence, actually pain can be very useful, right? It's trying to tell you something. But often with chronic pain, the tissue that was injured is already healed. It's healed completely, and that pain signal is continuing despite the fact that you've already healed the tissue. So it's potentially pain that is. I wouldn't say it's not useful. It's still giving you a message. It's giving you a message. When you mentioned inflammation, it could be there's inflammation in the body that needs to be reduced.
That's right.
So, I'm always very careful with, for instance, as you know, when I had my back injury and I went to the doctor and he said, "Oh, here's some painkillers and some anti-inflammatories," and I said, "Well, no, I don't want to mask the pain. I want to know if I'm creating further damage, because if my pain levels go up, the chances are I'm actually causing damage to the tissues." So I'm always a bit, what's the right word? Careful around numbing pain. But obviously when it comes to chronic conditions, that's a slightly different matter. Mm-hmm. But with acute injury, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine that the patches would actually speed up the recovery from the injury or the pain. Catherine had always been fit and active when she suffered a debilitating back injury. She was barely able to get out of bed or walk without being in excruciating pain. She visited her GP, who prescribed anti-inflammatories, painkillers, and muscle relaxants, and also referred her to an orthopedic consultant. Catherine was bedridden for 10 days and subsequently could only get through the day with large doses of the prescribed pills. Catherine was diagnosed with a prolapsed disc at L3-4, and she was offered anaesthetic injections or spinal surgery. She was horrified and concerned that she would have constant back problems for the rest of her life. Catherine was miserable, could hardly drive, a day at work was agony, and any movements in bed were very painful. I carried out detailed postural assessments, muscle strength tests, and analysis of her movement patterns. I identified the biomechanical problems and prescribed a very specific exercise program to correct her posture, reduce her level of pain, and to prevent the injury reoccurring. After 5 weeks on the program, the pain had reduced hugely in her back, and Catherine stopped taking painkillers. After 10 weeks, Catherine was back jogging and doing more intensive exercise with absolutely no back pain, and she was so pleased that she was able to pick up her young son again. If you're suffering like Catherine was and you'd like to find out more about getting to the root cause of your back pain, go to www.bodycheck.co.uk and request a consultation. Now, back to the podcast.
They absolutely would. The recovery improvement times are dramatically different when and I have story after story after story, there's a gal, Boots Knighton, she does the Heart Chamber podcast, and she's had a couple of heart attacks, and she broke two bones, the tibia and the fibula, not that long ago. And she's been using the patches, and her doctors can't even believe how fast she was skiing at 7 weeks after breaking those two bones. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And she just is like, I can't believe it. So yes, for acute injuries, dramatic improvement, and chronic can take longer. So there was a study done on knee pain. So a lot of people have knee pain, and we have a patch that actually is just on glutathione. So there's a glutathione patch, and it elevates your glutathione levels 300%, and it stays there for 24 hours. And the benefit of glutathione, if people don't know about glutathione, I can't recommend enough because it is so powerful in what it can do. And we talked a little bit about the improvement in collagen and cartilage and stuff like that. And remind me, I'll get to sort of spike proteins actually as well. But this particular patch, they did a study with glutathione, the glutathione patch on one side and the anti-inflammation patch on the other. And all of the participants of the study were going to have knee surgery. And at the end of, I think it was maybe between 2 and 3 months, at the end of the study, none of them went on to get knee surgery. And that's because of that regeneration of cartilage and that increasing in collagen and, it initiates repair to damaged cells. It's really so powerful. It's also really helpful for wound healing, right? It's just really helpful for wound healing. But when you add, we have what's called the JAB trio. We have 3 patches: the stem cell activation patch, the anti-inflammation patch, and the glutathione patch. Those 3 together can get rid of spike proteins. And spike proteins, for those who don't understand, if you have had the COVID vaccination, you have spike proteins. If you have shedding from someone, potentially you have spike proteins. If you've had COVID, you have spike proteins, and they mess with your gut, your brain, your lungs, your heart. They have long-term complications effects. So really important to get rid of them. And there are various protocols. So, this isn't the only one, but I will tell you that in just 2 months' time, this will knock them out. And I love that. We've actually seen live cell study of a friend of mine actually had 6 different plates of tons of spike proteins. And she didn't know she'd ever had COVID and she'd never had the vaccination. And yet here she had tons of spike proteins. And at the end of 6 weeks, she retested in 6 weeks. And after using those 3 pouches, they were all gone except one, which was, I'm sure, on its way out the door. So it was really remarkable. And I think that, it's worth investigating for anyone.
Mm. What test was she getting done for the spike proteins?
It was a live cell study, a live blood cell study,
right?
Where they actually had looked under the microscope at the blood, and she actually got to see the pictures of it, and they showed her, yeah, you've got a lot of them on now each one of these 6 slides.
Wow. Yeah, I remember I did an add-on for a blood test I got a couple of years ago, and I didn't have any of the antibodies. So that would have, it doesn't suggest I have never had it, just suggests that they weren't active at that point. But
yeah,
I was just curious as to how they tested it. I didn't realize they could do that, but that sounds pretty cool.
They can. It is pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's neat. One of the things that I like about our, people don't have to wear all the different patches, right? Really, you only need the stem cell activation patch, just that. And it's $99 for a 1 month supply. You basically wear it for 12 hours on, and then you take it off 12 hours. You can swim in it. You can, you just put it on dry, clean skin. You can move it around. It really doesn't matter where the stem cell activation patch is. It can be, normally the labs have it in the back of the neck or below the belly button. But if you tweak something, you just put it right there, right? So, if you have chronic issues, you'd want the anti-inflammation with the stem cell activation. And then if you have like serious issues like I have or my husband has, you might want to hit it with some other things. If you're, I know a lot of your population, you do so much amazing deep dive into helping the skin. And so there's a patch that is not just good for the skin. I mean, one of the things I love that you say, which I 100% agree with, is the skin is telling you a story. It is your warning it's your, canary in the coal mine, right? It's telling you something is wrong. And so pay attention and figure it out. And so this particular patch elevates the epithalamin peptide and increases and improves organ function. And that's not just like skin, it's front lobes, it's adrenal glands, it's liver, it's hypothalamus, it's pituitary gland, it's thyroid gland, it's kidney, it's pancreas. And it's reducing oxidative stress. It's increasing antioxidants. It actually stimulates the pineal gland, which increases sort of mental clarity and focus. And it helps with sleep. It's actually really helpful with sleep. On top of that, it reduces fine lines and wrinkles and tightens the skin and evens out skin tone and discoloration so that people start looking younger and younger. So, we forget that the skin is the largest organ that we have. And I will tell you a story. So one of the things I mentioned how you have to pay attention to, if you're taking external things. So I was doing bioidentical hormones. And I've been doing them, and I've kind of been the same for really years and years. And when I started patching, all of a sudden, at some point, I noticed that I was getting some cystic acne. Well, it turns out I don't need to take bioidentical testosterone anymore. Like my hormones have balanced. And so I need to stop that. I need to tweak my thyroid medicine. The doctor friend is no longer using thyroid medicine. So you kind of have to pay attention to anything external that you're taking in, because as your body starts balancing, you need to accommodate for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are three types of patch that you've mentioned so far. So one stem cell, one anti-inflammatory, one glutathione.
And then this one, that's the epithalamin. That's another one that's a patch. Then there's the energy. The energy one's a patch. There's another one that's actually, for the cravings. That's a different patch. There's a patch that elevates carnosine. One of my favorite patches is the one that, if you think about the stem cell activation patch as the one that is targeting stem cells throughout your whole body by elevating copper peptide, there is another patch that elevates the daughter peptide called AHKCU. Now, AHKCU is found in the heart, in the brain, in the muscle tissue. And so it's the one that I can make sure you add these, right? You always start with a stem cell activation patch, and then you add to that, because you want to be making sure you're fixing or repairing or regenerating the stem cells throughout your body so it can optimize your whole body's health. The others are targeting maybe areas that you want to target, and like I want to target for my husband, and I want to target for myself muscle development. And this stem cell activation patch that is elevating the daughter peptide AHKCU, it is amazing because it's improving cardiovascular system, cognition, faster recovery, bone density. It improves bone density. It has been statistically proven in a double-blind placebo-controlled study to improve muscle mass, reduce fat loss, and it acts as a Faraday cage to reduce cell phone radiation. So that AHKCU, because it's found in the muscle in the brain, I can't tell my husband's stem cells with the copper peptide, go here, go there. But I know when I put this patch on them, they're definitely going to be activated in that area. And then there's another patch that actually elevates carnosine. And carnosine is a pretty well studied, especially in any industry of like you, where, you've been training people and helping people get fit. And it's known to improve muscle strength as well. But it also is actually really good for protecting the neurological system and organs and overall health and wellness of the brain, heart, and muscles. Great for the eyes. They actually have carnosine drops for eyes. So great in helping to prevent I can't say that our patches do this, but carnosine is really helpful in preventing glaucoma. I can say that we've had a lot of testimonials of people who are improving their eyesight on the patches and no longer needing glasses. And that's kind of amazing. There's another patch that actually helps by elevating your production of serotonin and melatonin. So that's really helpful for sleep. Although a lot of people don't end up needing that because the stem cell activation patch improves their sleep. The anti-inflammation patch improves their sleep. That patch that elevates epithalamin improves their sleep. So I have to watch my hand signals a little bit better because I'm automatically creating some gestures that I don't even know how that's happening. Anyway, so yeah, that part of what I do is to help people. So if they have, Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or cancer or, a knee issue or, even COVID, what do they do? And then I can say these would, start with these two pouches. I'm always going to say start with the stem cell activation and the anti-inflammation pouch. And then depending on what you can, and actually, while that stem cell activation pouch is $99 a month, you can get the anti-inflammation pouch for as low as $49, depending on how many you buy. And so that's really reasonable. And so you can actually start with a kit where you get an X39, you can get an anti-inflammation, you can get a glutathione, you could get a pain relief patch, you could get a carnosine or energy, or, you can get four different supplemental patches, and all that's $299. So it's a really amazing deal, in my opinion. And then there's the money back guarantee. If after 30 days, you're like, no, I don't think so. Most people, I would caution people in expecting too much too quickly. And that's the one thing that I have to say is you really want to give it a good solid 6 months of try, right? And they say a month for every decade you are old. But I would say that you should think about this as an investment in your health and give it a good whirl and not expect. My husband and I had amazing results very quickly. And there are one patch wonders and people that have amazing results. Everybody is different, but I caution people to not expect that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So the way that the stem cell patch works, so you were saying it's basically reflecting light back into the body.
That's right.
Do the other patches work in the same way?
Exactly the same way. Exactly the same way.
Well, I'm just trying to get my head around how that actually works.
There's some videos on my website that actually kind of walk through that a little bit. And there are also videos of David, the inventor, talking about it to practitioners. You would really enjoy. There's like a 36 deep dive. He walks through the science. For some, it might be more than they want. There's an 18-minute video of him talking through it in a little bit lighter, easier way. There's a video I love called Horses Don't Lie, and it's showing the pain relief patch on the horses. And, you take them off and they are like almost coming to their knees, and then you put them on and you can push them and they're fine. It's just really remarkable. So there's on the website, you can also find the 90 clinical studies. You can read the patent. There's the story of how the stem cell activation pouch came about and all of the kind of inner workings of it. So there's a lot of information that's available to someone, probably more than you can get through in a day, quite honestly. There are testimonials from NFL players. There are testimonials from doctors. It's pretty robust, probably too much actually, but I'm a little bit like you, I think, Lee. You are a perpetual learner. I've heard you say that you love learning, and I am too. And so I'm like, bring it on. I want more, right? I just want to keep diving into it. And so I have a tendency to even share too much or give too much or talk about too much as opposed to keeping it kind of simple for people because it's what I would have wanted to know. So I apologize for anyone in your audience who's like, yeah, you had me at stem cell activation patch. You didn't need to keep going and going.
One of the questions I think some of the listeners might be thinking is they might have a particular condition. They might be in pain or they might be fatigued or whatever it might be. And I guess the question that some people might be thinking is, so let's say I take the patch for 6 months. I've got no pain.
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean I have to keep taking it, or can I come off it? Or
you don't. You can come off of it. You're essentially, if you think about activating your stem cells, if it takes you a month, and this is a ballpark, if it takes you about a month for every decade you are old to activate those dormant stem cells, at the end of that, you can come off of it. Most people don't, because they want to keep reverse aging. They want to keep working through their bucket list items. Like they had this thing went away and this thing went away, but these things haven't, because the stem cell activation hasn't been able to hit that part of their body yet. Most of us have more than one thing that we're kind of trying to treat, but you can, and you would just start reverse aging, or you would just start aging in a normal way for that age. So there's no requirement to keep going.
Mm. Yeah, one of the things you said before is, someone used a patch, the pain went, took the pain off, took the patch off, pain came back, kind of thing. I guess
that's the pain patch, right? The pain patch you instantly feel. The others you don't instantly feel.
Right.
The others are repairing and rejuvenating, doing the deep work. The pain relief patch is more, it's more like you put an ice pack on and you feel better.
Yeah.
It's more like
a pain blocker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that one,
yeah.
Although that study that I quoted actually showed when they wore it consistently, just that patch consistently over time, the reduction in inflammation and the energy flow caused them to not have any pain in the final 4 weeks of the study. So most people, though, don't need to wear the pain pouches more than a couple of weeks, because by that time, the stem cell activation and the anti-inflammation patch have made such a difference that they just don't need it anymore. I've actually seen that happen more than not.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, if they were using the stem cells and the anti-inflammatory, you would expect it to sort
That's
of
right.
pain, whatever's causing that pain signal to
That's right.
to switch off again. But I guess if they're in quite a lot of pain and it's chronic, they've had it for a long time,
it could take a while.
Yeah, would you start them? I know you were saying you always start people with the stem cell patch.
Stem cell activation and the anti-inflammation first.
Okay, so you can start those together at the same time.
Yeah, you can. You can. In fact, the only pouch that I typically would start with those two initially. And then if they wanted to add that stem cell activation patch that is targeting brain, muscle, or heart, bone repair, that one, then I would wait maybe 4 days. Just mostly because I want them to see what are they feeling like on these first two. And then, okay, now do you feel a difference when you're adding the rest after like a week or so, or a couple weeks? Because people typically feel that other patch almost more prominently in the first couple of weeks. Any time, I typically start with those first two and then wait 3 or 4 days, add the next one. And that can be any one of the next ones, right? The thing I want to make sure of, the one patch that I would hold off on, unless they have that knee pain that's really problematic, or maybe arthritis and really swollen and painful joints, then I want to get that glutathione on them as quickly as possible. So I might just wait 4 days. Normally I'd wait at least a week. And I need to see that they're not having any detox symptoms, that they're not detoxing too quickly. Some people have a lot in them and they've never done any kind of cleansing and never done any detoxing. And we put the stem cell activation patch, and that initial boost of 30% glutathione is enough for them to, after wearing the patch for 12 hours, they might get a headache, or they might have some fatigue symptoms, which are really not symptoms of the stem cell activation. It's symptoms of the toxins coming out, and you're not drinking enough water and you're not flushing them out, and they're floating in the system and they're making you feel yucky. So we would slow it down. We would remove the stem cell activation patch. We can leave the anti-inflammation patch on for the full 12 hours, but we would remove that stem cell activation patch earlier. Maybe it's a half day that you start with until you find your limit. And the moment you start to feel crappy, if adding water and electrolytes, it's also really helpful to have copper, about 2.5 milligrams of copper, because the body needs that copper to be able to make the copper peptide to make the stem cells. So if you're deficient in nutrition, and most people in fact, I heard 80% of people are actually deficient in copper, and copper can really help with pain relief. Just having the right amount of copper, potassium, magnesium, some of these things can really be helpful in pain relief. And you don't ever go to a doctor and they say, hey, I'm in pain. And the doctor says, oh, well, you need to eat a banana and an avocado, and you need some, you need some of these foods that have high potassium in them because that's going to help you with your pain management. They're like, here's a pill, right? So yeah, that's part of what I do as a consultant, is just kind of slow them down and hold their hand and make sure that they're doing okay, and that tell them things like, put them by your toothbrush. Put them on in the morning when you brush your teeth, take them off. It's okay if you went over 12 hours. It's no big deal. If you accidentally slept in it, which happens all the time, because you forgot to take it off, you just go 24 hours without it. And it's not that there's not a little life left in the patch. And so I'm not allowed to talk about the fact that most of us actually take our patches off and put them on our pets because that's not allowed. Maybe it would be okay in the UK. It's not allowed in the United States, even though almost all of us do it. If we have a pet, we do it because they benefit so dramatically. But there's still life in it, but you don't want attenuation. You don't want your body to get so used to the signal that it stops replying and stops responding. So that's why the 12 hours on and 12 hours off. And if you sleep in it, you just wait and, give it yourself 24 hours to clear and then start back up again.
Gotcha. So if people are interested, how would they get hold of the patches?
So I have a website called IamReverseAging.com. It's IamReverseAging.com. And you can connect with me there. You can email me. What I like about connecting with me there is you will typically tell me where you're from. Where did you hear about me? And that way I know your time zone. I can email you back. I prefer to actually consult with people. You can buy the patches just directly from the website, and that's fine. Although I just like to hold people's hand a little bit more closely than that, if possible, if they're willing. And that my consultation's free. I don't charge for it. And I can also get them connected to a doctor, the doctor friend I told you about. When, we do this weekly webinar where I walk through a presentation and then we answer questions, whatever questions. And some people are the first time they don't know really anything about the patches. Other people have just started patching and they have some questions, or they have a friend and they want to talk about, well, my friend has this or that, and what would you recommend? And so, or where would you recommend putting the patches for this or that? And again, most of the time it doesn't really matter, but there are some areas that can be more optimal, and why not optimize when you can? So I would love to hear from folks and help them out. And I just think it's just the most miraculous thing. And I don't think we'll ever see it on the front page of a newspaper or on the TV or, when I asked my doctors, 2 of them, have you heard of this? They're like, oh yeah, I use the patches. I'm just like, well, why didn't you tell me? Well, they have to be really careful. I mean, they can't necessarily talk about some of the alternative approaches. Even the Barrow's neurological doctor that we saw last week for my husband, he wanted Jim on Prozac, and I was like, I really don't want to. I got the prescription, but I didn't give it to him. Instead, we did psilocybin mushrooms. And I told him that. I said, this was a follow-up. I think he was really here to see, how is he doing on the Prozac? And I said, well, we didn't do it. Instead, we did psilocybin mushrooms, and I'm hoping that will make the difference for him. And he goes, oh, good. I can't say good. I'm not writing down that. I'm not allowed to recommend anything like that, but good. So, there sometimes hands are tied, and so now I have 3 doctors on patches, because one of them didn't know anything about it, and he's like, no, but I'm very interested, and sign me up. So, I've got 3 different doctors that are on the patches.
Yeah, sadly, in today's world, medical doctors are not really doctors anymore. They're algorithm followers, really, and proceed.
I feel like they're pharmaceutical reps. Pharmaceutical reps are surgeons, really.
Yeah.
All respect to doctors, but no, I have a couple of friends that are doctors, a married couple that were dear friends of ours, and won't look at it, won't talk about it, won't, too far-fetched. Light therapy is been around forever. Proven. I mean, infrared light therapy, red laser, blue light, you name it. We've had studies that improve health as a result of it, but if it's not a drug, they don't really learn about it. I mean, I think that's because the curriculum is really created by pharmaceutical companies, at least in the United States, it is.
Yeah.
And they get paid. People don't realize that doctors actually get it. I don't know if you call it a kickback, but for each drug, they can make like $15,000 in a year of payment back for having prescribed that medicine. So they're so quick with their script pad.
Yeah, I remember, I don't know if you know Dr. Paul Thomas, but he's pediatrician. He's been struck off now, but he was saying that he was giving his patients or the parents of the patients proper informed consent before they got any of the childhood shots. And his rate was one of the lowest in the US. And he said because of that, he was losing about $1 million a year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast, that one.
That is a whole nother. I look forward to that one though, Lee. I have to commend you. I really enjoy your podcast. And I know I mentioned it before when we were in the green room, but I want to publicly point out that if people haven't listened to all of your podcasts, they just start at the first one and just start working your way up because they're so good. There's so much, deep diving information, just a world of knowledge you are, and you're helping so many people with all of your approach. And I really am grateful for you and grateful for what you do and your mission to help other people.
Oh, thank you for that. The other thing I was going to ask at the beginning, I think you said that the patches are available in 87 countries. Did you say?
That's right. Yes. And the UK is one of them. Yes. Not all patches are available in all countries, but, you just have to look and see more and more are becoming available in more and more countries. It just depends. We just opened the market in Korea. We're in South Africa. We're in Europe in most places. So there's, yes, it just keeps growing. My presentation deck that I gave not that long ago had 78 countries. And then I just recently heard we're in 87. I'm like, oh, got to update that because it just keeps changing. And yeah.
Awesome. So what's next for you, Darlene?
Well, Lee, I'm trying to get my hands on the next invention that our inventor has made that he's, I hope, rolling out next year. I know it's in beta testing and studying, and it's supposedly remarkable. I don't know exactly what it is, but I can tell you that if a normal bone takes like 7 weeks to heal, this would do it in an hour. And it's supposed to be really good for someone that has neurological issues. And so I've asked executives, please, can I put him in a study? Can we get a prototype advanced copy? Kind of continuing to work on, helping my husband's health, working really hard on my own health. I have to tell you, care providing is exhausting. And I had a doctor's appointment just this week, and the doctor said, you need more help. You need to do a better job. And I'm doing all the things, like I'm working out every morning. I'm going to bed really early. I'm eating really healthy. I'm meditating. I'm doing all the things I know to do. She goes, not enough. You need a really good cry, because I haven't really cried through this. I haven't really had a breakdown, and I'm grieving the loss of a husband who's not dead, but is gone to me in the way that, he used to be. And it's a really hard process. And so part of, when you talked about the 4 doctors of happiness, diet, quiet, and movement, in I think your first podcast, I'm working on finding the happiness, like not just doing the work of care providing, but actually making myself take the time to go do happy things, which is a little hard because I feel a little guilty leaving him with a nurse, or I feel a little guilty going out to do stuff, but I have to do it. She said, if you don't do it, because I'm actually having some trouble breathing. I feel like there's an elephant on my chest, and I know it's stress. I know, in spite of all the things I'm doing, I know that I need a good cry. I need to do so. I'm getting a therapist. I'm going to find more joy. I'm going to do a better job taking care of myself so that I don't break down at some point and, have a heart attack or have, an issue because I'm not able to balance all of it. So that, it's a little bit of survival mode, but sort of optimizing and trying to find that harmonization, that bioharmonizing that you talked about, which I love better than biohacking as well. So that's what I'm really working on for both me and him, and trying to find the balance between just the quality of life for him and then the doing of all the things. We're actually starting to do microcurrent actually as well. I just got a machine for that.
I got mine the other day. You might have heard it beep during the interview.
I did hear it beep, actually. Yeah. That's funny. I thought it was something in my house, but that's funny. Yeah, I'm excited to try. We've been doing that a little bit with a doctor, and I'm excited to have my own and give that a try. So those are some of the things for me.
Awesome. And when you were talking about this new technology, I actually have a client who's recently fractured 3 vertebral end plates in his spine. So if you need,
if I get my hands on it, you want me to give you a call?
If you need a volunteer for the study, let me know, because I'm sure he'll. Well, I can guarantee you he'd be up for that.
Yeah. I'm trying. It's hard because every month matters right now with my husband. When you progress this quickly to 6A in 2 years, his quality of life is way better than other people in his stage and has been, but the disease is still progressing. And so normally you would be in the stage 6 for a year and a half and stage 7 for a year and a half. So I could, in the normal world, it would be 3 years really before he's infant, like 18 weeks stage of cognition and unable to move anything, unable to walk, talk, hold up your head, any of these things. Well, if that's 3 years, then we could be doing that in mere months, right? I mean, because he did 13 years in 2 years. So that hasn't really, I have to probably process that a little bit more. I think I'm sort of walking around in a bit of a state of shock and numbness. And that's what my doctor was like, no, you need to really work through that. And so.
Yeah, for sure.
I think part of it is that I think that the patches really help ground me. I do grounding. I do, get my eyes on the morning sun. I'm doing, I think all of these things are really helpful. So I am a happy person by nature. I try to spend the day with gratitude about, everything. And I think I write in a gratitude journal. I'm thinking throughout the day, I'm going to put that in I'm going to put in my gratitude journal how wonderful it was to podcast with you today, Lee. So these things, as you go through the day, they're kind of cueing and clicking, and I'm focused on them, and what you focus on grows, right? So I do a lot of things that help. But the fact that I have this, heavy, actually, I was like, maybe it's just because I lifted weights really hard, and maybe it's really just, muscle fatigue. But I think that there's a little bit of issue breathing too. So I do need to process it differently than I probably am.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a difficult situation that you're in right now. But it sounds to me like you're doing a fantastic job.
Well, I appreciate that, Lee. Thank you. I'm trying.
You did mention earlier your website. Do you want to just mention it again before we sign off?
Yeah, I am reverseaging.com. I am reverseaging.com. And people can also reach me at darlene.greene@mac.com. That's my email. So, it's probably better to go to the website if you can, and maybe put a link to it, Lee. That would be great. That way people can find me. But the, because then you can watch it. There's a 2-minute video, there's just some really short videos that can kind of introduce you to it and get you started. And then I'm happy to walk people through the rest of it.
Yeah, that's great. Darlene, thank you so much. It's been a great talking to you today. I mean, I just want to kind of wrap up by saying, and I know you're going to agree with what I'm about to say. Sometimes I do have people coming on the show talking about technology, but we still need to get the foundations of health in place first. We need to be thinking right, breathing right, drinking right, eating right, moving right, and resting right. And any kind of technology like this is it's the cherry on top of the cake, right? So what I don't want people to do is think, I can buy a piece of technology and I can just eat what I want, drink what I want, go to bed when I want, and you're testament to that because you're doing all those things yourself as well.
You're so right. You actually need the ingredients to bake the cake, right? You need the copper in your diet. You need the magnesium, the potassium, the various things. It's really important. So your body needs so many things, and we just take it for granted. If we're not careful, it catches up with us. So
yeah,
educate yourself, right? Take charge of your own health. It's really worth taking charge of.
Yeah. And that's a great way to end the show.
Well, thank you, Lee, again, for the honor of being on your podcast and for all that you're doing good for the world. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So that's all from Darlene and me for this week. But don't forget, you can join me same time, same place next week on the Radical Health Rebel podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to give the show a rating and a review, and I'll see you next time.